afternoon, everybody. After such a great session with Bhavesh Agarwal, it's a tough act to follow, but we also need to save the earth. And that's what this panel is about, environment and climate change. How technology can be applied for basically making an impact in environment and climate change, with special emphasis on some of the developments related to India. I certainly let our moderator and speakers talk more about the panel. However, we'd like to take this opportunity to introduce the moderator, Dr. Anand Sudarsan, an undergrad from IIT Delhi, MS and a PhD from Stanford. He's a faculty at University of Chicago and has done some phenomenal work in the area of energy, environment and climate change. He was a sustainability fellow at Harvard, and currently he's very closely engaged in working with the Government of India as the Director of Energy Policy Institute at University of Chicago, focused on India. I would like to take this opportunity now to invite Anand Sudarsan and carry over the panel along with some distinguished speakers and IIT panelists in this particular panel. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'll just kick things off from here. So the title of this panel is rather broad. It's like a panel on technology or on entrepreneurship. So we've cut things down a little bit to focus on two areas. The first thing we'll talk about is the agricultural sector, especially the energy-water nexus. So what do I mean by that? One of possibly the largest environmental problem that India faces today is the increasing desertification of large parts of the country, most of North India, and especially the agrarian belt, Punjab, Rajasthan, Haryana. So what's the energy-water nexus? Well, we have free electricity given to farmers in India. This started at the time of the Green Revolution. Now that was a technology jump that these high-yielding varieties of seeds need a lot of water. So we decided to give free electricity to farmers so that you can pump out groundwater. The consequence of that today is that nowhere in the world is the ratio of how much you use to how much you could use to be sustainable higher than in those parts of India. Number two is Central Valley in California, but it's not the close second. It's much, much lower. Now, so you've got this free electricity, that's the energy part of things. You're using too much water, so you're getting desertified. Every year, therefore, you need more electricity to pull out the same water. The electricity is free, so these states are now bankrupt. Right? So you're billions of dollars in debt, Punjab, Rajasthan, for example. A significant fraction of the state income goes on this particular end use, and so these states are completely bankrupt. But you also have a political problem, which is that it's not very easy to pull these subsidies, right? Because you've essentially got yourself in a situation where you've trapped farmers in a job which they couldn't do without these electricity subsidies. If you do the math, agriculture is just not profitable across large parts of these states without electricity. So you think about, you're a small farmer, we actually don't want you in agriculture, we would like you to move to another sector, but you're going to stay here because you can eke out a profit using the electricity that is subsidized, right? So it has larger implications beyond energy water. You cannot get economic growth in India and rural India as long as you have this situation. Now, they're going to be, solving this problem requires technology and it requires economics. There's a whole bunch of things that need to come together. I'm an economist, so I'm just going to lay out sort of one part of the problem. One solution to this, which is something I'm working on, is the replacement of electricity subsidies with what we call unconditional cash transfers. Now, this is something that governments have been talking about a lot in this election as well, which is essentially to say, I spend so much money on giving you electricity, now instead of that, I'll charge you for the electricity, I'll just give you the money in cash. And the idea there is you might finally get people moving out of agriculture and doing something else, wasting less electricity because they can keep the cash that's left over. So that's an economic solution. The problem is that you need that to be backed with technology, because once you say farmers are incentivized to do other things or use other technologies, what's going to be the options that they can use? Right? And that's what the rest of this panel is going to focus on. One susceptible to climate change than ever before because you've got no groundwater. If rainfall patterns change, you're in bad shape, right? So it's a climate change problem down the road. And so I'll just say that much to set things up, and I'll turn it over to Amit, who's been doing a lot of work in this area.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Before I start, I just want to make one point. If this is the only point you take, I think my being on the panel will be a success. I think climate change is not just the biggest challenge that we face as humanity today. It's actually one of the biggest opportunities of our lifetime. And the technologies that you guys are working on, a lot of you I'm sure are working on big data and AI and IIT and other cool things. They are going to have a tremendous impact in solving this problem, mitigating this problem, and I really encourage you to dive deeper into that. So coming to the power water nexus, an excellent point. If you look about the total carbon emissions, about 25% of emissions come from the electricity sector. Another 25% come for agriculture, where a lot of power is used for pumping water. And as we're trying to decarbonize the electricity sector, one of the sort of primary ways of doing this is to go for renewables. So you put more solar and more wind. And today, actually, the cost of wind and solar is lower than the cost of running fossil fuel plants. For the first time since 1882 or something, the UK electricity grid ran for more than a week completely carbon-free. It was a big, big achievement, and I think these numbers are going to improve every year from now on. So, but the biggest challenge of getting renewables on the grid is that these are intermittent. The sun doesn't shine in the night, the wind doesn't blow all the time. How do you stabilize it? And if you want to stabilize it through fossil fuel generation like natural gas, then you defeat the purpose. If for every megawatt of wind you have to put a megawatt of fossil fuel, then that's the point. And so that's where this pumping and in general flexibility that you have in a lot of these end use cases is very, very important and can play a very big role in getting more renewables on the grid. Today, if you think about how the electricity markets work and how electricity is traded, there's a huge volatility in the price. In California, if you look at price in the daytime versus the nighttime, there's almost a 10x difference. There are more and more hours during the year where the prices actually go negative, and wind generation and solar has to be curtailed. Now, it turns out that all the electricity usage, or most of the electricity usage in the agricultural sector is around pumping and moving water from one level to another level, which is highly flexible. You can do it in the day, you can do it in the night. One of the projects that we are doing in India, for example, where the farmers are getting zero-cost electricity, and that's putting a big financial burden on the utilities, is that we are putting some IoT-connected switches in the field, and along with some soil moisture sensors. And based on these the measurements from the soil moisture sensors, we can determine exactly how much to pump. So it mitigates the water depletion problem. But we also determine when is it most optimal for the utility to pump. And as you get more renewables, actually you might be able to pump when the prices are negative, which means that you can make good. If you think about the Indian sector, the utilities are fully bankrupt. I think that's one of the barriers for wind and solar, because you have to do counterparty transactions with them, high cost of capital, nobody wants to fund these projects. And getting utilities into a more solvent state is probably the single biggest challenge. And there's really no other way to do this by other than becoming more intelligent around how the subsidies that we are giving can be reduced, or their impact can be mitigated, because as Anand said, it's politically radioactive. You can't take away the subsidies, so you have to just be very intelligent. So I think that's one example of what we are doing, but the general idea of how you manage not just the supply but the demand, and do it intelligently, do it at scale in real time, that really unlocks a lot of value for the grid, and it's at the core of it is an AI and big data problem, which is where all the skills that we probably have in this room are directly applicable.
Which I think is a great way to segue to Sangram, the question of how do you use big data, especially from satellites,
taking image of the entire Earth almost every 3 days. If you club 3 different satellites, you can get it down to almost 1 day. So every part of the Earth is getting imaged at a spatial resolution of 30 meters by 30 meters, which is pretty high for doing any kind of monitoring from space. Now, will that really help you in achieving anything useful? So this has been the hard question, right? So if I give you an image from space, what am I going to look from that, right? So, research and studies and different people have been doing different things, creating all sorts of indices. You have microwave, you have optical, you have radar, combine all of that, you will get more insights on what your soil moisture levels are, what your vegetation condition is, how much chlorophyll you have in the leaves. You can get down to the fluorescence that's happening in the leaves now. So there's a lot in research, but how does that translate into business, right? And so what we have been trying to do essentially is create something called an intelligent sampling space, and this is where AI comes into action, where we're saying that we have images of almost every other field in India, and India is unlike US, where you have large fields, large corn and soybean fields. India, you have very small fields, and you have multiple crops growing even one season, and then you have 2 seasons, and then complexity goes on and on. In the rainy season, you have clouds, so optical satellites don't work. So what do? Can you use radar for actually getting the same level of insights? And this is where big data comes into action. We are processing almost, I would say, petabytes of imagery almost every 2 days right now at the NASA Supercomputing Center here at Moffett Training Mountain View. And this is a heavy-duty task, and all of this imagery is being actually fed into, let's say, Google Earth Engine, where actually other companies, startup companies are actually using those imagery data to create valuable insights. And these insights relate to crop yield prediction, primary productivity, soil moisture anomalies. We even have a sensor called GRACE, which actually measures gravity anomaly, so you can actually get a condition of your groundwater level. Now, I won't point out to all those uncertainties in these data sources. That's a completely different discussion. But blend this massive spectrum of satellites in orbit right now, not just NASA, but the European Space Agency, ISRO has a bunch of satellites. Calibrate all of them, make them, really fuse them in a proper way, and then you have insights almost every 15 minutes. And these are all low Earth orbit satellites, but nowadays people are talking about geostationary satellites. Geostationary satellites are usually, they're used for weather monitoring. So this is another very important aspect to, bringing in how your hyper-local weather conditions are, and you join primary productivity, which is actually yield production and weather forecasting. They go actually hand in hand, right? So if I have a really good way of predicting weather conditions locally at a high resolution, then it's really helpful for everyone. So I think there are a couple of companies who are trying to do this. We have been creating very high resolution weather forecasts for the entire world. We still do that here. And now bringing in that whole context of depleting groundwater, intelligent sampling, how do you actually, the final question is how do you optimize your crop yields, right? Because it all depends on, so it has been a personal kind of involvement for me, because I have been seeing these farmers in, let's say, Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu, and it's a sad story. Now everything kind of boils down to the insurance industry, right? And if people are saying that 99% of the claims are being settled, that's not exactly what's going on. Why are the farmers committing suicide? Right? Have you ever thought about that? The important thing there is, let's say I have 2 different farmers and I have 2 different fields next to one another. One field is doing really good in terms of productivity, the other field is not doing good. The insurance company will come and they'll settle the claim. Exactly, both the farmers will get the exact same amount, which is a small amount, because the farmer who lost his crop, he's not going to be able to buy the crop for the next season. And that is exactly why he's committing suicide, because they get incentives, his family get incentives. So the idea is that now you provide this high resolution insights to insurance companies, and you have to understand this model, that if I have this really high resolution, hyper-local kind of forecast at the ground, at the field level, then I could make real decisions. I mean, this is exactly like home insurance here, right? If I exactly know that my backyard, my trees are going to burn next season or this summer in the fire season, then I would actually increase my premium. And I think I'll leave the discussion there and then let Prabir actually put some words.
Probably you want to jump in.
So I think Ahmed said about how do you control. One of the things he mentioned was most of the utilities are bankrupt in India. That's especially because if you look at it, the free electricity creates a huge issue for the utilities. So one of the key areas of focus is how do you, the utilities are seriously looking at can somebody else take on supplying electricity to agriculture? And one way to do that is distributed solar for pumping as well as and all the things Ahmed said and Sangam said, the technologies need to be used now to at the same time make sure that the excess electricity that comes from solar does not just go into pumping, but they can sell back to the grid. So that means big data analysis, predictive analysis. So technology is going to play a very huge role in all of this. So distributed solar is going to be the answer, but the solar water nexus is a huge thing, because one of the things that India is now looking at is Israel has been very successful in drip irrigation. Can that be combined with distributed energy generation and control? I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, so just a couple of points, and that we're going to transition into the next part. The next question we thought is really connected to this one. I mean, just to Sangram's point on all that data, beyond sort of the business models you can build around it, it's actually research in economics relies so heavily now on this kind of satellite data. You would not be able to do the kind of work we do without this kind of granular data, because there's no other way of getting it. So to this point about how we take the energy water nexus and where we are here now, you're looking at kind of two things. You're looking at a sector that's using a huge amount of power, largely for pumping water. And you've also got this problem of how do I transition to a cleaner energy mix, right? And there's several ways of doing that. We thought that we talk about decarbonization, and we also bring in now the question of transport as just another sector that's super important. And the reason it's so important and in some ways so challenging is that unlike fixed energy sources, when it comes to transport, you need a mobile source of energy, right? And you have liquid fuels are a very good mobile source of energy. So displacing them is very hard. Getting that energy transition right, I would argue, is a very difficult problem, precisely because of the interconnections you have between local environmental problems and global environmental problems. So I'm going to push back on one part of what Prabir said. One of the things that the Indian government is very excited by, and electricity utilities are very excited by, is using solar pumping, distributed solar, to replace electricity-based pumping. Now you can see the attraction on at least two dimensions. The attraction for electricity utilities and these state governments is it solves the energy part of this problem, because they're going bankrupt providing free electricity. Now if I can move people on solar, that goes away. It also solves the climate change problem. 25% of your power is, roughly speaking, coming from pumping water. I move that from basically coal to green sources. But what does it do to the water part of the problem? Now we're saying the problem right now is that farmers have almost free electricity. The marginal cost of pumping when you have solar pumps because it takes the marginal price to zero. So I think that, of course, is just one example of the energy transition. On the grid, there's a whole range of solutions which I think have their challenges, intermittency being one, but solar is now cheaper than coal. Storage is dropping all the time, and so the whole worldview around grid renewables in the last 10 years has completely transformed. And in some ways, we're just catching up on this on the policy front. The technology has moved forward, and policy tends to lag behind. It's only now kind of catching up. So I want to turn this sort of set of questions back around, looking at transport, looking at the energy transition more broadly. And this time I want to do it in the opposite order. I want to go to Prabhi first and then back.
So Anand, I do want to answer your very good point you raised. Does distributed solar create problems for water? And in the business as usual condition, it does. But what the data and this grid automation is so important is because now the government has started looking into, can the farmers pump back electricity that is actually better? There's a reason why it's called solar farms. Think about a farmer actually earning more from putting up solar farms on their, especially their land that has been that's not so good a use for farming anymore. They actually can earn more money than they actually can get from farming, and that can be possible only if these technology combinations happen. So, having said that, I want to move into the next area, which we see a convergence of transportation and electricity. As Anand said, there is a reason oil is so important to transportation, because it's the densest energy source available as known today. But on the other hand, that's the reason I asked this question to Bhavnesh from Ola, is I've been working with the government of India and the whole industry in India very, very closely for the last 10 years for this energy transition effort. And one of the keys that needs to happen is I've had several discussions with SoftBank Energy, which is very interestingly, SoftBank Energy and Ola are both funded by SoftBank. They are one of the biggest funders for them. And one of the focus that we are looking at is if solar plus storage, battery storage, cost comes down to less than 4 rupees a kilowatt hour, it's a game changer. There are other political and employment issues that we need to look at coal industry, because coal, to set up a new coal plant, it costs about 6 rupees a kilowatt hour is the best case scenario you can get. So 4 rupees for coal plus storage becomes a game changer, and we see that storage is already at about $180 or $185 per kilowatt hour cost. If it comes down to $100 per kilowatt hour, we feel that we can reach that 4 rupees a kilowatt hour. That's the focus that we are working on. So there's a huge importance of making that happen, but at the same time, there is a whole discussion about, I don't know how many of you have heard about Project Better Place, where they first thought about replacement batteries, instead of replacing batteries in automobiles and cars and trucks, instead of charging them. and somebody else take care of the battery, just like electricity that's given to you. India is seriously looking at replacing batteries instead of trying to charge batteries, because India has no infrastructure compared to developed countries for all the infrastructure charging. So both has good, for example, if you look at point-to-point buses, electric transportation makes absolute sense depending on how much you're using. So most residential people who use cars drive less than 6,000 to 8,000 kilometers a year or miles a year. It doesn't make that much sense for them. But Ola and Uber and taxis who run about 50, 60,000 miles a year, buses and trucks that run that much, makes absolute sense for them. So we are going to look at it.
So I wanted to just make one point to what Prabir was saying. I think what he said about solar pumps, combining the economics with the technology is exactly right. And one of the things that's challenging in practice is, I remember I was going to the government of Gujarat where they had this pump program. And I was trying to make a similar point. And the electricity utility was like, this is not my problem. I don't want intermittent solar coming in, I don't care about water. And I think that is one of the challenges we need to solve, this kind of interdisciplinary thinking in policy. It's very hard to get done. It's precisely that kind of, so I agree with that. So, Sangram, you want to?
I just have a short comment on this, because I'm not an expert in this field, but what I do feel is that, again, it comes back to the insurance of the government. If Agriculture Insurance Corporation, AIC, is the one that are actually providing with all the premiums, then farmers can be actually incentivized with even more now that you would be using these distributed solar pumps, and then your premiums will go down, and that needs to be fed into the system. The government needs to really act on that, and I think it's a win-win for the farmers.
Do you want to close things out?
Yeah, I mean, I just build on Prabir's point. Is such a big area, hard to cover in 30 minutes. But I do think that as I look at opportunities in this space, this electrification of transportation is one of the biggest opportunities. It's going to be transformative. And I mean, in this room, probably I don't have time to do a survey, but if I do a survey, I'm guessing that 20-30% of you are driving EVs today, and probably 80% of you will convert into an EV in the next 3 to 5 years when you buy your new car. There's absolutely no reason why you would go and buy a fossil fuel car. It's so much more convenient. You don't have to go to gas stations. But for high utilization fleets, this is a no-brainer opportunity. Because today, without subsidies, the cost of running a fleet on electricity is lower than the total cost of ownership of a diesel fleet. New York came out of a study recently. There are a number of studies that are coming out because it has fewer moving parts, and the fuel is cheaper, maintenance is cheaper, and the overall cost is actually lower. And that's just on transportation. If you just take a bus and say that this bus is going to provide transportation and nothing else, that's already at par, in some cases cheaper, in some cases a little bit higher. But now if you think about this bus, not as a bus for transportation, and say that it's actually a battery which I can move around, and I can now use it to mitigate the intermittency that comes because of solar and wind. And this intermittency is actually very locational, right? Because you have to balance supply and demand at different nodes at different times, you have to move things around. You actually have a completely new way of managing the grid, which was not available. And we have done a lot of study around what is the economics of that. A battery, a Tesla battery that you park in a particular building today can give you a 25 to 50% IRR. So now you can move it around and you can be more intelligent about it. That itself is a big opportunity. So I think just the fact that you can combine, and to Anand's point, you can cross domains between transportation and electricity, or agriculture and electricity. There are tremendous arbitrage opportunities in that space on coming up with new business models, voltage, somebody has to turn a generator. It's a big sort of log loop. It works through inertia. Somehow the generator turns up, electrons comes, the ultimate just in-time supply chain better than before, right? So now the supply itself is intermittent. You can't rely on it. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. And on a massive network, you have to balance it at every node, at every time, whether it's a millisecond time frame, whether it's hourly time frame, whether it's a monthly time frame on a multi-year basis as well. So figuring out how these demand and supply patterns are going to change at different points in time based on different types of forecasts. Also figuring out how the prices are going to get affected by these changes in demand and supply. And then figuring out how the customers are going to use electricity. And with all of that information, making micro adjustments to batteries and to other sort of flexible load that you have, your AC systems, you can change it by a couple of degrees, water pumping, you can move it up and down, charging rates that you have, you can schedule it. You have a lot of untapped capacity in the system which can be unlocked. But to be able to unlock it, you really need to understand how these electrons are going to flow here, and it cannot be done as humans, just like you can't do high frequency trading by humans. You have to use automation and real-time controls to be able to mine all of that data and make the decisions at the right time.
So I think we are out of time. Are we out of time? Oh, okay, we can do one question.
Hi, my name is Abhimanyu Dhariwal, 2015 IIT Bombay batch. I had a question for the panel, specifically for the market in India. Everyone has been very bullish about electric vehicles happening in the next few years or decade. The way I see it, it's going to put a lot of further strain on the grid, especially at night when everyone's going to be plugging in their cars for charging. How do you see that kind of new load affecting the power dynamics? It's going to change the market for the distributed energy resources in India, especially something like solar plus storage.
So, in the utility industry, everybody has been talking about the duck curve and the giraffe curves and stuff like that, and inverted curves. Right now, in the short term, nighttime, except between up to after 9 o'clock, the load dramatically goes down. In fact, the lowest crowd is after 12 between 12 and 6 in the morning is the lowest electricity requirement. So if cars are charging during that time, that's actually a good thing for the utility companies because it stabilizes the load. But as more and more distributed energy, especially solar, comes in and you start generating more during the day, and people start charging things in the night, then the problem becomes more prominent, and that's all the more reason why auto grids and intelligent grids are so important, and predictive analysis are so important to manage the grid. Think about this. The good thing with the previous electric generation was we had large central generating units, and now let's just start thinking about each farmer is trying to generate and starting to put electricity back. Each house is going to try and start putting electricity back. Cars are going to put electricity back. So we are now thinking of trying to manage petabytes of data in microseconds, real time, and that needs a lot of computing power and analytic power, and that's where AI comes in.
This was an amazing panel by Anant and the whole team. I really like the aspect of how they brought artificial intelligence into energy, environment, and climate change. Some of you know I run the IIT Artificial Intelligence Machine Learning Forum worldwide, and I'm an electrical engineer. I can relate to some of these, and really happy that this technology is making waves. We have some gifts for all the panelists and speakers. I'm not going to say who is going to get what, but trust me, it's all same.